Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about something that has been on my mind a lot lately. And I've talked about this a little bit before in my video that I made about problematic spirituality, so I'll link that down below if you're interested in watching that video. But what we're talking about today are group readings, collective guidance, and I'll explain more what I mean by these things. So group readings, collective readings, and guidance are when someone will post something that says that it's for everyone. Sometimes they'll say they're for the month of July or for this coming week. But they're readings and guidance from a spiritual practitioner that are put out there by the spiritual practitioner as being collective guidance, a message for all, the entire human race. So that's what I mean by a group reading, collective guidance. These are readings and messages that are put out by spiritual practitioners that claim to be for all. And I'd like to specify by saying I am not talking about pick-a-card readings. I think that those can actually be very beneficial. Pick-a-card readings are where you'll see someone post something that has multiple options, and you're supposed to see which one calls to you, and then based on which one calls to you, that's your reading. So those are different than group readings or collective guidance, because they're not being put out there by practitioners as this is for everyone. They're being put out there as which one of these things resonates for you. Which one do you feel called to? Then that's your answer. So intuitive pick a card kind of readings are not what I'm talking about. There's nothing wrong with those, in my opinion. I'm talking about specifically group readings, collective guidance, collective readings that are put out there that are meant to be for every single person who reads them, but the message is the same no matter who reads it. That same message is intended for every single person who reads it. And I want to start off this video before we get deeper into the topic by saying that I do not mean to come for anybody's spot. I do not mean to throw shade at anybody or be rude or make anyone feel called out. This is something that I see happening a lot in the spiritual community. It's been going on for a very long time, and I feel like it's getting worse. So I really want to talk about it on my channel because I don't think it's healthy or okay or accurate or morally just. As a spiritual practitioner, collective readings and collective guidance are something that I would never participate in, and we'll get into why later on in the video. But I want to start off with a little disclaimer that is, I'm not trying to attack anyone. I don't want anyone to feel offended or hurt by what I say. Please watch this video with an open mind. Hear what I have to say, and you might change your mind on collective readings if you are someone who participates in them. I do urge people who do participate in them to watch this video. You might not want to watch it just based on the title, but I urge you to watch it because you might learn something that will make you change your tune on collective readings and group readings, and you might want to not participate in them anymore, which is kind of my goal in making this video. I really want to educate people on what group readings are, why they're not accurate, and why they're not safe, and why they're morally questionable. And hopefully that through that education, people will stop doing them. Because that's my dream. I don't want to see these on my timeline anymore. I don't want to see them on my Instagram feed. They really upset me. So, that being said, please don't take anything I say personally. Just know that I am saying these things out of wanting to educate and spread awareness, and also out of wanting to be personally the best spiritual practitioner, teacher, mentor that I can be. So I don't want to let people fall victim to these group readings, collective guidance type posts. I want people to know the truth about them and be able to decide for themselves if they want to participate in them. So that is why I'm making this video. Please don't take anything I say personally. I'm simply talking about the facts. And sadly, a lot of people I know do this. Honestly, I can only think of 2 spiritual practitioners that I know that don't participate in these group readings, and hats off to you for that. I really appreciate you for that. Hi, Giles. And that really upsets me. I feel like almost every spiritual practitioner that's on Instagram participates in group readings and collective guidance, and I really want that to stop. I really want to change that. So I'm hoping that this video will help people to realize that these collective group readings are not valid and they should stop participating in them. So I'm sorry if you are someone that knows me and we follow each other on Instagram and you do a lot of this. I don't mean to offend you, and I want you to know that I'm not judging you for it. I don't think any less of you for it, but I do think that what you're doing is misguided. And again, please continue to watch the video before you get really mad at me, because your opinion might change. I speak the truth. I speak the truth. So, we talked about what group readings are, and I will put some examples of group readings and collective guidance that I see a lot on my Instagram up here on the screen, so you can get a better idea of what exactly I'm talking about. And I'm talking about group readings and collective guidance that is posted on the internet. That's mainly where we see these things today. We see them on YouTube, we see them on TikTok, and we see them on Instagram. So you've probably seen them. If you follow some spiritual practitioners, I'm sure one or many of them participate in these group collective guidance readings. This is where the spiritual practitioner will post to their YouTube channel, to their TikTok, to their Instagram, a big long paragraph or a long video that is guidance for the month of July or guidance for this coming week. And this practitioner will put these out intending them to be for every single person who watches them. So that's why they're called collective guidance, because they're for the whole collective. It's one piece of guidance for every single human being on the planet. So now let's talk a little bit more about why these collective group readings are not legitimate. The first reason is that to perform any spiritual working, a reading, a healing session, divination, you need the person's permission. So as a spiritual practitioner, giving us that butt shot. Booty. So as a spiritual practitioner, I am energetically unable to do a healing, perform divination, do any kind of spiritual working for someone without their permission. You have to have the person's permission in order to access their energy field, their spirit guides, their anything. You need the person's permission, that specific person's permission. You can't do anything without it. The second reason that these collective group readings are not legitimate is that when you're performing any kind of spiritual working, you need to be specific with your intention. When someone, as a spiritual worker, sits down with their tarot deck or sits down to open the Akashic Records and does so with the intention of, I want a message for everyone. I want a message for the collective. I want a message for the month of July for the human race. This is very non-specific. You're going to get a jumbled mess of nothing. You're going to get a little piece of every pie that's out there. You're not going to get clear messages. You're not going to get answers to anything. No one is actually going to get specific, concrete answers from a collective reading. It is impossible to do a reading for every single person on the planet in one reading. Like, you can't sum up what every single human being on the planet is going through in one collective reading. These collective readings and collective guidance posts often remind me of the horoscopes that you see in the newspaper. Now, we all know that these horoscopes that you see in the newspaper are not helpful. They're not legitimate. They're not accurate. This is because without someone's entire zodiac chart, you cannot actually accurately give them a horoscope. You need to know your entire zodiac chart to be able to have an accurate horoscope. The same thing translates to other divination methods and methods of receiving guidance from spirit. You cannot receive guidance, you cannot receive messages without connecting specifically to something specific. So again, we're going back to, you cannot sit down with your tarot deck and say, I want to pull a card for the collective. That just doesn't work. And similarly to these horoscopes that we see in the newspaper, these collective readings will resonate with most people. They're written and received in a way that they're so generic that almost everyone will find something within that long paragraph of the group reading that resonates with them. Because when this practitioner is sitting down to do this collective group reading, they're receiving a jumbled mess of everything that's going on in the world. So if you read through these group readings, you will find something that resonates with you, or there'll be a little piece that you're like, oh, I'm going through that. It's the same with the horoscopes in the newspaper. You could cover the names of the zodiac in the newspaper horoscope section and read a random one, and I guarantee you, you're gonna think that it resonates with you. And then you pull your hand away and you realize you read the completely wrong astrology sign and it's not for you at all. The same thing applies for these group readings. They're very generic, they're non-specific, so almost anyone can read it and go, oh yeah, that resonates with me, but it's not actually for them, and it's not specific. It's not actually helpful. So again, when you're performing a reading for someone, doing divination for someone, you need to be able to say, this specific person wants to know this, or wants guidance on this. This cannot be achieved by saying, I want a non-specific reading for the entire human race. The energy needs to be directed specifically to a certain person, to a certain person's spirit guides, to a certain energy field. You cannot just throw it out there that you want guidance, just general guidance for humanity, and expect to get accurate information or helpful information. And I think that the reason people participate in these group readings, these collective readings, is because they're trendy. And we're going to get more into this history in a minute. Because of the way social media is, the algorithm of these social media platforms, things like this get a lot of attention. So people really like to be able to go to a spiritual worker's page and without paying anything, just scroll through and see, oh, here's guidance for this month. For everyone. Oh, here's guidance for this week for everyone. They're not paying for readings specifically for themselves. Hi, doggy. But they are looking to just get a quick, free, easy reading. They just want to be able to look at this person's page and be like, oh, the month of July, here's what I need to know. And then they can just feel like they got some guidance for the month without actually getting a specific reading for them and without paying. So I think they're trendy for that reason. I think they're trendy also because from the perspective of the spiritual practitioner that's on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube doing these things, it makes you look, this is going to sound really bad, but I want you to know that I'm coming from a place of love. It makes you look like you know what you're doing. It makes you look like you're legitimate to the untrained eye. It makes it look like you have this strong connection with spirit. You have this strong connection with divination. You have this strong connection with tarot. You have this strong connection with your spirit guides. And they give you guidance every month, every week, to give to the collective. They're giving you these messages that are meant for everyone. And I think to the untrained eye, that really makes the spiritual worker seem legit. It makes it seem like, oh, these are intended for me because they're intended for everyone. So I want to be a part of that. I want to watch these videos and hear this guidance for everyone for the month of July. I want to look at these Instagram posts and see which tarot card got pulled for this week for everyone. So I think they're very trendy in that way. They get a lot of attention on social media. It's a quick, easy way to get followers, get likes, get comments. And I'm gonna make another entire video about TikTok and witch talk very soon. These group readings remind me a lot of when you are scrolling through TikTok, witch talk, and you see something pop up that's like someone pulling a tarot card. And it's meant for whoever sees it on TikTok. So it's meant for every single human being that sees it on TikTok, that happens to get it coming up on their For You page. And you'll see the practitioner will usually say, keep what resonates and leave what doesn't. Do you know why they have to say that? Because the reading's not for you. The reading isn't for anyone. The reading is not being done correctly. They're just participating in a trend. And again, if you're mad, I'm sorry, but this is the truth. I don't mean to make you mad, but if you're having a response, that's probably because you've been participating in this, and you're realizing now that it's not true, it's not correct, it's not morally just, it's not good spiritual work, it's kind of like a scammy, fraudy thing to do. So it's the same with those TikTok posts that are meant to be for every single person who happens to see them because of the TikTok algorithm. For all those reasons, these group collective readings are not legitimate. Now, I have learned that collective group readings are not possible through almost every single spiritual teacher that I've ever had. I've spoken in previous videos about my studies of the Akashic Records through Linda Howe's Akashic Records certification program. And she had quite a bit to say about group readings and collective readings. The last class I took through Linda Howe's center was from Linda Howe herself, and someone during the class asked her what she thought of collective group readings, if she thought they were legitimate, if she thought that it was possible to do a reading for every single human on the planet. And she said absolutely not. She said there is no way to do that. So Linda Howe talked a bit about this woman, and I cannot remember this woman's name. Somebody will hopefully know who I'm talking about and put it in the comments. But Linda Howe talked about this woman who in, I believe it was the 2000s, maybe even the late 90s also, when the Akashic Records was just starting to get a little bit more attention and becoming a little bit more trendy. There was a woman who would sell out big auditoriums. She was a spiritual worker, she worked in the Akashic Records, and she would sell out these stadiums and perform group readings for every single person who was in the stadium. So that doesn't mean she would perform individual readings for each person that bought a ticket. That means that you would buy a ticket to this event of hers, and this woman would give a reading for all in attendance. She would connect to the Akashic Records, and she would give a collective reading. So this information she was giving was intended for every single person in the room. And there were sometimes hundreds, sometimes thousands of people. How can this guidance be for 5,000 people? How can this guidance be for 100 people? I guarantee you, every single one of those people is going through something specific to them and specific to their life. And Linda Howe talked about how this was just a scam. It was this woman doing this as a means of making money. She wanted to sell tickets, and she did. She sold a lot of tickets. So it is rooted in a scammy kind of nature. And again, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you the truth. And something that I find personally slightly hilarious is that several of the people who were in that class and heard Linda Howe say these things participate in group readings. They post them on their Instagram. They post them on their YouTube. So it's unfortunate that they just kind of disregarded what Linda Howe had to say. And I want to say specifically, you know, if we think about the history of humanity, the history of paganism, the history of spirituality, then we know just logically that way, way, way back, BC, no technology, how would we have done these collective readings? This is something that people don't really think about. They weren't possible. We didn't have 1,000 followers, 5,000 followers, 10,000 followers that we could just post a collective reading to, and all 10,000 of your followers are going to like it and comment that it resonated with them so much. You know, this is something that has come about within recent times. And I want to say specifically that I'm not saying that you cannot do a reading for a community, you can't do a reading for a specific area of the earth. It is possible to do a reading for a certain city or a certain community. And then you're kind of getting guidance for that city itself. Once something has a name, it kind of has personhood. It becomes energetically its own thing. So that is how you can perform a reading for a big region. Like you could do a reading for Los Angeles. What's going to happen for Los Angeles in this next month? That is something you could do. And this again relates back to way back BC, when we're talking about shamans, medicine women, spiritual workers who would perform all the spiritual practices for the village or for their little community. So that is what they would do. They would connect with spirit. They would connect with whatever it is that they're connecting with in their culture to receive guidance for their whole village, their whole clan, their whole town. That is perfectly valid. That is something that has been going on since the dawn of time. Spiritual workers, shamans who are given this responsibility of look out for our town, look out for our village, look out for our clan. We need to make sure that we are safe. We need to know if bad weather's coming. We need to know if a famine is coming. We need to know when to harvest the crops. We need to know what to plant. These are all things that, among other things, that a shaman or a priestess or a medicine woman or any kind of spiritual practitioner in these ancient times would do for the village, for the town, for the clan. And that's perfectly valid. That's something that you can still do today if you want to perform a reading for a specific region. The difference between that, a reading for a specific region, a specific group of people, and a collective or group reading is that with a collective group reading, you are doing a reading under the guise of, this is for every single individual who reads it. This is for Jimmy. This is for Tommy. This is for Jane. This is for Jack. This is for Sandra. It's for every single human being that sees it. Over here, if we're doing a reading for Los Angeles for the rest of 2021, we're doing a reading for the United States for the rest of 2021. That is for the geographical area of the earth. That is for the entity United States. Remember, if we name something, if something has that individuality of it, it has that kind of personhood. It becomes its own thing. So you can do a reading for the United States. It's kind of the same how you can do a reading for a house. You can do a reading for a building. You're doing it for that specific building, that specific country, that specific state, that specific city, that specific county. So you could say, perform a reading for Los Angeles for the rest of 2021, and you would receive information about maybe what the weather's gonna be like, if we're gonna have a lot of fires. You might get some information about what's gonna be passed law-wise. With the pandemic going on, you might be receiving information about how the COVID cases are going to be for the rest of the year. You're not receiving information about the individuals who live in Los Angeles. So versus a group collective reading where you're asking spirit to give you guidance for every single individual on the entire planet, which is not possible, in a reading for a specific region, you are receiving guidance for that region. You're not receiving guidance for everyone who lives in that region. You're receiving guidance for the region. So if you think about it, social media is the biggest stage in the world. You can go on Instagram and post something and it can go viral. It can be seen by millions of people, even billions of people. So it's the ultimate auditorium. We can very easily connect how these are just performative spiritual acts. They're not actually rooted in genuine spirituality and spiritual practice and religion. That's just the truth. They come from a background of performative spirituality. It's not meant to offend anyone, it's just the truth. I urge you to stop reading them. I urge you to not support them, don't like them, don't comment on them. I'm not saying unfollow the person and send them hate. Absolutely don't do that. But do know that they have no bearing within spiritual work. They are entertainment. And this is something, again, that I want to make a whole separate video about because it's a lot to talk about. But just to touch on it really quick because it is related, I think something that people don't talk about enough within spiritual work is the ego. And I think in today's modern age, again, with social media and the internet, people can get very caught up in their ego, even people who claim to be spiritual workers, spiritual practitioners. So we need to be aware of our ego as spiritual workers, especially as spiritual workers on the internet. We need to be very aware of when is my ego popping in and when is it truly my guides, truly my connection to spirit. We have to separate those things. We have to be able to tell this is my own brain and this is psychic messages. So I think that comes into play too with group readings. I think a lot of the time someone can sit down to open the Akashic Records to give a collective reading, or sit down with their tarot deck to give a collective reading. And they don't realize that what they're doing is really tapping into their ego and just spitballing whatever comes out. Not to say that there isn't some guidance coming through from spirit, from your psychic connection. I'm sure there's some jumbled mess of nonsense coming in from there. But a lot of the time with these readings, you're seeing information that could have been ascertained just from sitting there and thinking about it. You don't have to connect to spirit to be able to receive these messages. A lot of the time, they're so vague and so non-specific that they'll be about stuff that the spiritual practitioner knows is going on in the world. So that's where you have to check in and be like, am I really receiving this message? Or do I just know that there's a pandemic going on? With the knowledge that there is a lot going on in the world right now, you can write a lot of things down for a collective message, and it will resonate with a lot of people because collectively we're going through a lot right now. That's where their information is coming from a lot of the time. More so the ego and not so much actual spirit. So, to wrap it up, the moral of the story is that I really don't want people to unknowingly participate in something that hurts the collective. And ironically, these collective readings hurt the collective. Not only are they performance-based, entertainment-based, and have no bearing in actual spiritual work, they are disrespectful to the entire spiritual community, in my opinion. Someone like myself who does not participate in trends, does not participate in trendy, witchy social media, and that's something I pride myself on because I don't want to participate in it. It offends me, and it offends me for the teachers I've had who have taught me that it's not real and it has no bearing. It makes us all, as a spiritual community, as a pagan community, look a little bit like quacks. It makes us look like we're really gullible. It makes us look like we're just pulling stuff out of the sky. It makes us look like we are those people who are just obsessed with our horoscopes in the newspaper. So I really don't like them for that reason too. Because of social media, a lot of the time people just want to be TikTok famous. People just want to be an influencer on Instagram. People just want a lot of followers, want a lot of subscribers. So that can, without people even realizing it a lot of the time, dictate a lot of their choices and a lot of the things they post and a lot of the things they want to participate in. So again, we can't ignore that these collective group readings are really trendy. They get you followers, they get you likes, they get you comments, and they have no bearing. So it's kind of like an easy way to be like, hey, I'm here, I'm a spiritual worker, please follow my page so I can be kind of famous. A lot of people fall into that trap. And I think it's important as spiritual workers to, again, check in with our ego. Are we doing this for attention? Are we doing this for validation? Or are we doing it to help? Are we doing it for spiritual reasons? Are we doing it because it's our passion? Are we doing it because it's authentically us? Or are we doing it for likes and follows? So again, my intention with this video is not to offend anyone, not to start a fight, not to disrespect people, but to spread awareness and education. So I hope that this is easy to understand. I feel like right now it might be a little bit of a jumbled mess, but hopefully I can edit it into a coherent thing. And if you participate in these, know that I respect you, I see you, I completely understand, but please stop. Please don't participate in them anymore. All that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it and you learned something, please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to my channel or even maybe join my membership program. This is a hate-free zone as all of the internet should be. So don't be sending hate to anyone who participates in collective group readings, and please don't send hate to me for not liking collective group readings. If you send hate to me, I'm just gonna ignore it, so don't even waste your time. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Blessed be.